All right, can y'all see red drink energy at the cellular level? Awesome. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. Energy at the cellular level, okay? And so I just want to welcome you all to energy at the cellular level. And we're going to talk about 3 main points. 1, where does our energy come from? And what stops us from making energy? And how we can support our body to make more energy. All right, so those are the topics for tonight. So let's start with where our energy comes from. Why is it important to know where our energy comes from? Well, here's the thing. I think most people think our energy comes from our food. But I think we all have eaten food and not necessarily had energy after eating it. Am I the only one? And maybe food that you had at one point that you felt like gave you energy later didn't give you energy, and you're kind of confused. Like, why did I eat this? And now I feel more tired and less energetic than I did, 2 years ago when I ate it. And here's the thing. If food gives me energy, then why don't I always have energy if I'm eating? So that's why we're going to go deeper, and we're going to look at the cellular level. Don't worry, my goal here is not to get really deep as much as just make this simple and let you know more about the where, the what, and the how, okay? So I have 3 pictures here, and in this first picture, what you're going to do is you're going to see cells. Those are cells. We get our energy from our cells. And y'all, they say we have somewhere between 30 and 100 trillion cells in our body. That's a lot of cells. And inside each of those cells is what we see in that second picture, and that is mitochondria. Except for our red blood cells. Our red blood cells don't have mitochondria unless there's something else in our red blood cell, and it might have mitochondria, but that's a whole nother topic, okay? But these mitochondria are our little powerhouses. They are engines of our cells, okay? Yet, we have inside of each of our cells anywhere from 1 to millions of mitochondria inside of one cell. That picture I have there in the middle, that has like 3, maybe 4 little mitochondria. You kind of see a little corner there on the left bottom. But in one cell, we could have up to millions. That's pretty amazing to me. The human liver has been found to have about 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria per cell. Your heart cells could have up to 5 to 7,000 mitochondria per cell. Now, I find that pretty amazing. Your skeletal muscles, though, they can have up to 30,000 mitochondria per cell. All I can say is, wow, that's a lot. You ready for this? Your brain, each brain cell could have up to 2 million mitochondria inside of one cell. Now, here's the thing. The more mitochondria in a cell, the more energy potential that cell has. Which means if you have a liver cell with a lot of mitochondria, it's going to make more liver cells with a lot of mitochondria. And it is said that we regenerate our liver in about 6 to 8 weeks, meaning that the liver cells in your liver 3 months ago are no longer there. And I find that pretty fascinating. It also means if you have liver cells with very little mitochondria, guess what it's going to reproduce? more liver cells with fewer mitochondria. Okay. Now, here's the thing about age. We like to blame everything on age, right? Well, I'm just getting older, so. Well, here's the thing. Age does not cause you to have less mitochondria. But the experiences your body has gone through in time can play a role in how many mitochondria you have. All right. So our lifestyle habits, our experiences, what we do day to day affect our mitochondria. Now, the last picture here is what is called ATP. And ATP is made inside of the mitochondria. And there are stages that must occur to produce ATP inside the mitochondria. We're not going to go into that today. It's called the Krebs cycle. There's all these different processes that happen to actually have the energy. I just want you to be aware that there is a process that occurs when we eat and drink food that metabolizes that food through those processes to make ATP energy for your body to utilize. Okay, so a lot of times we think, okay, I'm going to drink something, I'm going to eat something. Oh, now I've got energy, right? But it has to go through a process that our mitochondria actually make ATP and then use that energy. So for now, I hope that you understand that your energy comes from these three things: your cells, your mitochondria, and ATP. Okay. Which brings me to the next question. What stops us from making energy? Okay, we know we need cells. We know we need the mitochondria in the cells. The more mitochondria we have, the more energy potential we have. And those mitochondria make ATP, which gives us energy. But what stops this process? What stops us from making energy? Well, to me, this may be the most exciting information that I want to share with you tonight. And it's something that I have actually been wrapping my brain around since I first heard about it several years ago. Okay, I even have a little bit of it in my book. And it's called the cell danger response. There is a doctor, Dr. Robert Navio, who is the one that found, I guess you could call it, found the cell danger response. And he wrote about it in 2014 and 2018. So this is pretty new. Okay, if you think about how long ago that was, right? He had a 2016 study that documented statistically significant objective hypometabolic. Hypometabolic means low metabolism, easier word for it. Hypometabolic changes in chronic fatigue syndrome. These findings clarify how this very real physiological response is not psychological and how it causes death-like states in the cell, which he says happens in trauma and freeze. All right. Now, you may not have a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, which, y'all, is just enough symptoms on a list to get a diagnosis. All right. But you may have, right, chronic disease, or you may have fatigue, which are some of the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome. But what they have found is this list that I'm giving you here has been researched, and they have the same symptoms because of the cell danger response. And it's causing metabolic issues, which is the ability for your mitochondria within your cells to move through the process of making ATP easily, meaning making energy easily. All right. Now, there's over 100 different diseases. I just included a few of the major ones that they've done studies on with this cell danger response. And this brings us to the stress continuum. Okay. To better explain the cell danger response, we have to understand stress. And that is why I've been taking the information that I learn and I put it inside the stress continuum. And when we're healthy and well, when we feel good, we are in that blue zone thriving. And when we become stressed, we move into the yellow zone, fight state, green zone, flight state. And if we stay in those for too long, we move into the red zone, crisis. And if we stay there for very long or too often, we move into the blue zone, trauma freeze. All right. So I have my friend Kathy that I'm going to introduce you to. All right. This is Kathy. She's my friend. She's just like you. She's just like me. She has a brain with a brain stem. We have a brain with a brain stem. That brain stem has a threat detector called neuroception. It is what tells your autonomic nervous system automatically whether you are safe, whether you're in danger, or whether something is life-threatening. And that information is related through your nervous system, including your vagus nerve. So she has a vagus nerve just like we do. All right. She also has a heart, she has a gut, she has a liver, just like you and me. Now, remember, you have brain cells, right, inside of your brain. You have heart cells that make up your heart. You have liver cells and you have gut cells. And each of these cells have mitochondria to produce energy. Now, Kathy, also like you, she can see, she can hear, she can smell, she can taste. And all of those senses are what tells our neuroception area in the brainstem if we're safe, in danger, or life-threatening. Okay. Now, let's say that Kathy, like in this third one, is in a great mood. She's healthy, she's in the blue zone thriving, she's feeling peace and joy and gratitude and hope and all the wonderful things. And then, all right, we all have and then moments in our day, okay? I'm in the blue zone thriving, and then, right, something happens. And here is Kathy's. Kathy has a threat. She feels a spider on her leg. All right. And this spider is a threat. It turns on her threat detector and says danger. And she moves into what I like to call the yellow zone, also known as fight. She is most likely to fight the spider by knocking it off her leg. And when she is in this yellow zone state, her heart rate's going to go up. Her blood pressure probably will go up. She might even yell, right? This is all a natural stress response to a trigger like a spider. And here's the wonderful thing. In about 20, 30 minutes, all right, healthy Kathy is back to her default blue zone thriving self. Now, let's say that Kathy has been stressed lately, and yellow zone is her default zone. She has really felt like she's just surviving day to day, and she's already argued with a family member this morning, and she feels like nobody at work is listening to her. And then she has one of those and then moments. All right. And because she's already in the yellow zone, she feels the spider and she doesn't know what to do. Her body doesn't feel like it can fight it off. It's been fighting all morning. So what happens? She moves fast. She begins to run, right? She has now moved into the green zone flight. And to allow her to run, her heart rate has really increased. Her blood flow has decreased in her gut and has increased in her muscles. So that way she can get away from that spider. And after a few minutes, she stops running, but she starts having some anxiety because she doesn't know where the spider is. And she wonders if there's more spiders. And her mind might even begin to race about all the things the spider could have caused to her body. She is in a stressed green zone state. And it takes about an hour okay, for her to return to her new default zone, yellow zone. Now, let's say that poor Kathy has really been having some chaotic things going on in life, okay? Her home life stressors, her work life stressors, and her health hasn't been what it was. Let's say she was recently diagnosed with insulin resistance. Her mind feels foggy and she's been feeling restless, even to the point it's affecting her sleep. Her default zone is now the green zone, struggling. She is spending most of her time there, and she has one of those and then moments. All right. There's a spider on her leg, and her threat detector is set off, and her body begins to feel overwhelmed. She moves right into that red zone crisis. She is trying to knock it off. She's running in circles to the point the spider isn't moving. And then she begins to get angry and kicks the wall to try and get the spider off. And now her foot is hurting. She's angry. She's overwhelmed. She's tired. And she feels this way all afternoon. She doesn't even find herself back into that green zone, that default zone, for 3 to 4 hours. Now, my friend Kathy has had a rough few months, okay? She's been stressed out. She's been overwhelmed. She's worn out most days. She doesn't even remember the last time she felt good. She was sick for 2 weeks and had to take off work, and she can't get caught back up because the brain fog is so bad that even when she's at work, she isn't very productive. And here she is, like, life is just, can anything else go wrong? And she has one of those and then moments. Spider on her leg. And she is completely burned out. She has no energy left to fight the spider, to run from the spider. And her body only has one more response left. And it's trauma freeze. And it shuts down. And she just stands there numb, immobilized. A friend runs over and kills the spider and asks Kathy, "Are you okay?" And Kathy is so disconnected to her body. She says, "Sure." She goes back to her desk and she's kind of in a daze. And when it's time to leave and time to go home, she doesn't even remember where the time has gone or what she did and didn't get done for the day, but she knows she is done. And she goes home, and it's not until the next day, like 24 hours later, that she realizes that her leg is hurting. And she realizes she has a spider bite. And she's like, "I need to go to the ER." She feels overwhelmed and she feels angry, and she's blaming everyone for not helping her sooner. Can anybody relate to my friend Kathy? Now, here's the thing. I know I used today's threat as a spider and I just kept it the whole time, but I want you to know that there are many other stressors that turn on our alarm. And here's a list. Lifestyle stressors. Some of those can be deficiencies and some of those can be toxicities. We can have nutritional stressors. Again, those could be deficiencies or toxicities. We can have communication stressors. These are like hormones. We could have deficiencies or we could have toxicities. We could have environmental stressors. These could be toxicities, our cleaning products, our makeup, our shampoo, our conditioner. We can have immune stressors like a bacterial infection, a viral infection, a parasitic infection, a fungal, mold, allergies. We could have life event stressors, like Kathy with family stressors or work stressors. We could have trauma, present trauma, things that we're going through, like Kathy went through just a minute ago with the spider on her leg, but she was already in an overwhelmed state and she went into trauma. Or it could be from our past, the ACEs, childhood adverse experiences. You can have physical trauma, or you could have psychological, emotional trauma, but these are all stressors. And here's the thing, next week, I am going to be going over those stressors in more detail in the What's Stressing My Body Masterclass. On that Zoom on Monday morning, I'm going to talk about which of your body systems are most stressed. I'm going to talk about what are your top stressors and which stressors to start with. All right. Now, Kathy, like all of us, spends time on the stress continuum. How much time in what part of the stress continuum affects our health? So again, that blue zone thriving, y'all, it uses up the right amount of energy. The amount we have is balanced with the amount we need. We don't feel like we have too much energy that we're bouncing off of walls. And we don't feel like we don't have enough energy that we can't do the things that we love to do with those that we love. It's just right, the Goldilocks, all right? When we move into the yellow zone, our body needs more energy to fight. So we use up more energy in our body, often more than we have. When this happens, our body has a new set point on how much energy it needs daily. So it begins to store energy. Does anyone know where your energy is stored? Feel free to unmute and tell me where your energy is stored.
Is it stored in your liver?
That's a good answer, but it's not the right one.
How about in our blood?
Do what?
In our blood?
Not exactly, no.
Is it
In our
stored in your
heart?
gut?
No. We store energy in our fat cells.
Oh, interesting.
Energy, extra energy is stored in fat cells. Isn't that interesting? So depending on how your body is responding in the green zone, if you're actually moving around a lot, staying busy, going, your body may accommodate to how much energy you need by increasing the amount of mitochondria in your muscles and decrease the mitochondria in your gut. If you tend to sit and think and worry more, your body may accommodate by increasing the mitochondria in your brain and less in your muscles, including your heart. If you're in the red zone crisis, the energy needed to stay in this zone is very high. So your body is going to begin to find ways to shut down certain systems that are not as important at that moment. All right. When your body no longer feels safe, even in the red zone crisis, it's going to move to the trauma-free state, shutdown, which brings us back to that cell danger response that I was talking about. When I said the body begins to decrease the mitochondria in a specific area like the gut when we move into the yellow zone, this is a healthy danger response. And your body then returns to a healthy state. When we're in the blue zone thriving, we're in rest and digest, and our gut starts working again. However, if we continue to stay in the stress state, we have continuation of the cell danger response. And this means increased cortisol is released, the immune system is suppressed, and inflammation begins to rise and symptoms begin to occur. So in a healthy body, when the stressor or trigger goes away, our body's just going to return to the default blue zone thriving. And when our default is a stress state, we have more and more of this cell danger response occurring, which brings us to shut down even more often and quicker. So what happens in the cell danger response? Well, this is where the dorsal vagal parasympathetic state occurs. It reduces energy levels to death-like states. Cells and mitochondria stop replicating and even die. So this is how we can have less mitochondria in our cells, and we can have damage at a cellular level. It conserves energy by suppressing states of fight and flight. So when we're in the freeze state, we're going to have less of the fight and flight. So a lot of times people are like, oh, she's calm, she's good, she's not feeling a thing, and her cells are not doing the job. Freeze states in humans also inhibit the social nervous system. This means a lot of times you don't want to be with other people. You just want to be by yourself. Other symptoms look like shallow breathing, a slow heart rate, low blood pressure, and exhaustion. The symptoms are aimed at reducing the body's energy consumption. A stress state takes a lot of energy. A freeze state doesn't. So it goes into this energy downgrade in energy in order to preserve life as long as possible while we outweight the threat. Now, Kathy, we could see her threat. We could see that spider, but we couldn't see all the stressors that were keeping her in that yellow zone, or keeping her in that green zone, or keeping her in the red zone. We just saw the one threat that brought her to the next zone. And so often that's what we do, right? We're like, well, that thing happened, and that's why I feel the way I do. But often it's all the other stressors that led us to that. All right. So the question is, what is the threat? And we're going to talk more about all the different stressors, like I said, next week. So how can we support our body? Well, actually, let's go to a recap first. What stops us from making energy? That was my question, right? The cell danger response. It shuts down energy making, slows down the ability for the cell and the mitochondria to make ATP, which is energy. So if we're still eating, we're still going to store energy. So when everything wakes up, we're going to store it in our fat cells, but we're not making energy at the moment. Another thing, stress will increase your energy production in some areas and cause cell damage, cell danger response in others. For instance, the gut. The gut is not important when you're fighting and when you're flighting and when you're overwhelmed. So it's one of the first places to shut down. This is why a lot of times they say all disease begins in the gut. Too much stress or too fast will lead to trauma, and the body will go into the freeze state. While in the freeze state, the cells are shut down, the cell danger response. So how can we support our body to make more energy? I think that's a pretty good question, right? How can we support our body to make more energy? Well, I talked about this on Monday. Our first goal is we've got to get out of the blue zone trauma, the parasympathetic freeze stage. When we are here, that's when we have the least amount of energy and the highest amount of cell danger response going on. This is where disease is occurring. So how do we do that? Well, your body must know that it is safe. And that's why I have the 21-day journey, Trauma to Safety. This is the first step to turning off the cell danger response and moving towards healing. If your cells are shut down, they are not replicating. the mitochondria are going to decrease and you're going to have less ability to make energy. And the mitochondria that are there are going to be shut down and are not able to make energy from your food. And it's going to continue to decrease. And here's the thing, your body will do anything to increase the energy. It'll even move towards a stress state. So when our mitochondria decrease and we have less energy potential, we will start craving things that will stress our body out to increase our energy. How many people wait until the last minute? All of a sudden you have the energy to do what you need to do at the last minute, even though you might not have had the energy to do it yesterday, right? That is a coping mechanism that your body uses to stress you out enough to give you the energy to get something done. Isn't that amazing? Our body's so amazing, it will even store energy for later use if your cells are closed down. It's like, okay, I can't make energy right now, so I'm going to store whatever building blocks I have available over here in these fat cells for use later. So once our body feels safe, and in the 21-day journey, I share 6 different safety exercises, and Tony actually just finished her 21-day program. And then I teach 7 support exercises, and that is the next step. Next, we must support our body to lower the stressors on the body. All right, so in that program, there's 7 support exercises, but I want to tell you there are hundreds, if not thousands, of ways to support our bodies. Those are just 7 to help you get started, right? Now, I shared in the master class about Ningxia Red, the superfruit drink that helps to energize, fortify, and revitalize. That is another way we can support our body. Where does it do this? Where does it help energize, fortify, and revitalize? It helps in the mitochondria because it's giving you the building blocks to build that ATP. So much so that I shared that it's been found in a study that increased physical energy levels by 34.5%. But your cells have to be open to take it in to make the ATP, okay? So today I'm going to share another product to help you support at the cellular level, and it's called sulfurzyme powder. It has MSM in it, which is methylsulfonylmethane. MSM benefits the immune system by supporting the cell regeneration. I'm going to say that again, cell regeneration. So remember, when our cells go into the cell danger response, it's no longer regenerating. So we get lower and lower in cells. We need to increase that. It also helps permeability needed to help the immune response. So sulfurzyme helps open up those cells that have been closed down. We've got to work on the safety. That part is still very important, but sulfurzyme helps to open up those cells to allow things to get in that we want in, not necessarily the things we don't. Now, remember I said that the cell danger response shuts down cell regeneration. We need to get out of the cell danger response, that freeze state, and we need to give our cells what they need to regenerate. Now, it also has a prebiotic inside of it, which helps the gut. Remember, I talked about the gut is the very first thing that shuts down. When we move from blue zone thriving to the yellow zone to go into fight, our body says, the gut's not that important, and it shuts down. And here's the thing, it can have an increase in non-beneficial bugs because of the shutdown. And the prebiotic can help to balance the gut, the microbiome. Every single protein starts with a sulfur-containing amino acid. So we need to maintain a healthy supply of it so it doesn't steal from other sources in our body. And if we don't have sulfur to build those amino acids, our body is going to use more magnesium, more calcium, and more potassium. It also helps detox the body from internal stressors that could be causing your body more stress. So it helps with the methylation process, and it helps to detox heavy metals. What it does is it takes the heavy metals, adds a sulfur to it, it converts it to a less toxic form, which the body can then get rid of more easily. All right. You can see all the things that different things that sulfurzyme powder can do. It helps support overall wellness. When it says normal metabolic function, it's talking about inside the cell, helps with circulation, helps with bone, hair, and skin health. And then you can see the features and benefits that it can do for you. And it's helping you in these areas because it's getting into the cells. And we call this the red drink. And I've got my red drink right here right now in my favorite little Care Bear cup. And what the red drink is you can do anywhere from 8 to 24 ounces. You can even do more water if you want. 1 to 2 ounces of Ningxia Red, 1 teaspoon of sulfurzyme powder, and then you can choose whatever vitality essential oil you want. I will tell you that a lot of people love lime in it, and lime has some wonderful things. Lime essential oil, it has bioflavonoids, it helps support the immune system, it stimulates the detox pathways, it helps with the absorption of vitamin C, it has extra microcirculation, it has limonene in it. But sometimes we might need other oils to help support our body and our mitochondria. And so a lot of times I will add something different into my red drink. And just like Ningxia Red is easy and delicious with lots of benefits, the red drink can support you even more at the cellular level, especially if your cells have gone through the cell danger response. All right. So again, next week, I'm going to be teaching 2 classes, one on Monday, one on Thursday. I'm going to be teaching one about supporting your body through the holidays, and we're going to use the Zyto Insight Scan. I will be sending out some information with this replay on how you can have your Zyto Insight Scan if you want to have it available to look over as we're going through the different things. But what I'm going to teach on is how adaptable are you? That's the adaptability index. The more adaptable you are, that means the less stress that your body is in, or we can look at it as you're more stress your body can handle, okay? The more capability it has. We're going to look at what your triad looks like. That's your emotional, functional, and energetic beings, or what I like to call the spiritual, emotional, and physical. And then we're going to talk about top products and services to support you. All right. Just like in the 21-day journey, trauma to safety, we have 7 exercises to support your body. There are so many other ways that we can support the body. And what this Insight Scan does is gives us a little insight on what types of wellness services will help support your body in a way that you can help lower that stress. All right. Any questions